This is the 8th and final section of From Portraits to Puddles, New York City Memorials from the Civil War to the World Trade Center Memorial. We're going to start with a review of lessons learned about memorials. Lesson 1. A memorial doesn't have to give full details like a history book. The point of a memorial is to remind, not to teach. Lesson 2. Sculptures that are not portraits, such as an unidentified sailor or an allegorical figure, can also serve as effective memorials. Lesson 3. A memorial that doesn't show a specific individual can nevertheless remind us of the sort of people who are being remembered. Lesson 4. The addition of a recognizable figure, even if it's a bird or animal rather than a human being, makes a memorial appeal to a much wider audience than a list of names alone. Lesson 5. A memorial that requires abstruse knowledge, here the fact that the sun shines through the head on Armistice Day, will leave most viewers unmoved. Lesson 6. Memorials that are very depressing or gruesome may drive people away. And finally, Lesson 7. Lists of proper names don't have a strong impact except for those who knew the people named. If you remember nothing else from this essay, remember this. Representational sculpture has the ability to communicate ideas and values across space and time in a way that landscape architecture and proper names cannot. That's why representational art evokes much stronger emotions than a list of names or a group of trees or a trickling stream. For more on how art performs this function, see my book, Getting More Enjoyment from Art You Love. Now, let's apply these lessons to the World Trade Center Memorial. Reflecting absence, the winning entry for the World Trade Center Memorial is another descendant of Maya Lin's Wall, the Vietnam War Memorial in D.C. It's landscape architecture, a list of names set among trees and reflecting pools. By itself, its voice is as weak as the East Coast Memorial would be without the eagle. The bane of blandness is unfortunately not an issue only for New York's World Trade Center Memorial. Across the country, memorials are now routinely created that have no figurative elements, only lists of names set in landscape architecture, trees, grass, benches, reflecting pools. These 9/11 memorials from Washington, D.C. and Shanksville, Pennsylvania are of this sort. This is the memorial to the Oklahoma City bombing of 1995. Its elements are given in Wikipedia as the gates of time, a reflecting pool, a field of empty chairs, a survivor's wall, and a survivor's tree. But what if? Judging from the age of sculptures in Battery Park and elsewhere in Manhattan, the World Trade Center Memorial will probably be with us for at least a century. Having a memorable memorial is worth an effort. After all, how often do you have the chance to influence what your great-grandchildren will see? We can't make reflecting absence go away, but we could easily add something to the site that has a wider appeal. I'd personally like to see 2 representational monuments at the World Trade Center, honoring the 2 distinct types of people who were at the Twin Towers on 9/11. The first monument would be to the rescue workers who ran to the site while everyone else did their best to flee. The message of this monument would be recognition of the rescue workers' heroism and courage in the face of a horrific event. The Firemen's Memorial on Riverside Drive, 8 miles north of Battery Park, offers a very similar message. These men were brave, they died, we miss them, and we will not forget them. The second monument would be to those who worked at the World Trade Center. They were heroes of another sort, and the memorial to them would be a celebration of productive work. Work is, after all, why they were there, and it's far from mundane. As Ayn Rand put it, quote, Productive work is the road of man's unlimited achievement and calls upon the highest attributes of his character, his creative ability, his ambitiousness, his self-assertiveness, his refusal to bear uncontested disasters, his dedication to the goal of reshaping the earth in the image of his values. End of quote. Creativity, ambition, and the ability to create wealth are what the terrorists were attacking on 9/11. That's why the World Trade Center was their target in New York. Creativity, ambition, and the production of wealth are what we're endorsing and celebrating by rebuilding on the World Trade Center site. A memorial to those who died there because they worked there would reflect that. In short, the memorials at the World Trade Center should commemorate how the rescue workers and the people who worked there lived rather than how they died. I have no figures in mind to represent courage or productivity, but I would love to see what a top-notch representational artist could come up with. Wouldn't you? If you want something as evocative as Erickson or the East Coast Memorial or the Firemen's Memorial at the World Trade Center, something more than pools, trees, and lists of victims, it's still possible. Frederick Hart's Three Soldiers was added to the Vietnam Memorial in Washington several years after Lynn's wall was dedicated. Contact information for some of the relevant officials is in the first URL on this screen. Do something about this. Your great-grandchildren will thank you. And I thank you for listening. If you're interested in more of my writings, I do a Sunday recommendations email every week. You can also support me on Patreon and check out dianedrantywriter.com for more posts on sculpture, painting, music, and my other obsessions. Thank you.